A few thoughts now on what appears to be a mass psychosis that has overwhelmed the left-wing national media. Not only have many news outlets detached themselves from reality, but they've also begun reporting and describing ever-growing delusions. The Associated Press, for example, obviously imagines itself in a leading role in the left-wing media's war against President Trump, who in their view has disintermediated the Associated Press from its audience, threatening not only AP's relevance, but its very existence. The AP, raging against its rising irrelevance, wrote this, quote, "President Donald Trump can't be counted on to give accurate information to Americans when violent acts are unfolding abroad." I want you, if you will, to think of the just massive stupidity of that statement. In point of fact, AP is jealous of the president and actually jealous of their future. That's the AP's way of saying, if you read or listen to President Trump speaking directly to the American people, then what will be the role of the AP? NBC Nightly News, also apparently filled with fear and sanctimonious nonsense of its own. It refused to report on a retweet by President Trump about fears of a new terrorist attack in London over the weekend. NBC argued this, quote, "The info is unconfirmed," end quote. Of course, the president was right. The attack was absolutely terrorism. The president was right, as he has been in every instance when he has declared an act to be radical Islamist terrorism. And NBC News, as is too often the case, was wrong. NBC, in the grip of its own special struggle with reality, was forced to issue a correction after falsely claiming that Russian President Putin, quote, "does not deny having compromising information on President Trump during an interview." It was exactly that he declared, he being Putin. But the nastiest psychotic behavior originating with CNN host Reza Aslan, supposedly a reporter on religious affairs, who went scatological, slurring President Trump. CNN responded to calls for Aslan's firing by declaring that the show that Aslan hosts is not a CNN show. That is, they contract for the show. Aslan is not, therefore, a CNN employee, adding, quote, "That kind of discourse is never appropriate," end quote. CNN defining that slur against the President of the United States as discourse says just about all we need to know about CNN. Parts of the left-wing national media have simply lost their minds, and their efforts to blame President Trump for their psychotic episodes isn't remotely rational or persuasive. They've simply gone over the top and around the bend. How far have they gone? A recent Harvard study found the national left-wing media's coverage of the president's first 100 days set a new standard for negativity, and it appears that the second 100 days will move in precisely the same direction. And that's sadly the only standard most of the elitist members of the Fourth Estate still recognize in their current angry, addled condition. Incapable of seeing with clear eyes the accomplishments of President Trump and his administration, the venality of the left, and the challenges that we all still face as a nation. Now the quotation of the evening, this one from George Orwell, who said, quote, "In our age, there is no such thing as keeping out of politics. All issues are political issues, and politics itself is a mass of lies, evasions, folly, hatred, and schizophrenia." We're coming right back with much more. Stay with us.